Hey guys, what is going on? So I got quite a few requests to review the new Gorilla Mode base. So this is the newest pre-workout that they offer. It's a little bit cheaper than standard Gorilla Mode. And I want to talk about where they cut costs here and what things they actually added into this pre-workout, which were pretty surprising. I didn't think they would go the route that they did. Talk about the differences between these formulas, who this is for, and maybe if you want to stick to regular mode, depending on what you're looking for, I'll go over all of that. But before I do that, this is a cheaper product. This is $35 before code, and this is $50 before code. But before you buy either one, Black Friday is right around the corner. So make sure that you're going to wait a little bit and save that money. Don't buy it today. Don't buy it tomorrow. Save a little bit of money, and they will be having deals on these. So just wait. And before I get into the formulas, this white gummy bear flavor is awesome. I actually am primarily using this as like something to just sip on, as like an energy drink. Most of the time that I've had this, I haven't been working out all that much, and so I'm not really like, trying to get pre-workouts in. I'm just kind of getting caffeine and just going about my day. But I love this flavor. I think it's worth trying base just to try this flavor. It's an exclusive flavor to Gorilla Mode base, unless they expand it into different products, which I would love to see, like an energy drink with this flavor. But for now, this is the only place that you can get it. So what are the differences between these two formulas? Well, a lot of it is the same. So I'll go over some of those things. One is the massive dose of L-citrulline. And this is a interesting route that they took, because I was fully expecting them to go with like 6 grams of citrulline malate or something like that, because, that's clinically like an effective dose, which would yield, 4 grams of straight citrulline. They did not do that. And in fact, they actually have more citrulline in 2 scoops of this than they do with 2 scoops of this. So 9 grams of pure citrulline in regular Gorilla Mode, 10 grams in Gorilla Mode base. So that's not a massive difference. That's what you see between Mode and Nitric, but it is noteworthy, and it's interesting that they actually went with more. But I think the reason for this is they wanted to hit a nice even 5 grams with the single scoop serving. So maybe that's the reason they did that. I think this is going to be more common for people to just do 1 scoop of. So maybe that's the reason. But otherwise, very interesting that they actually added more citrulline into the mix. In terms of the malic acid, you're getting the same amount of malic acid. So citrulline malate is not actually bonded citrulline and malic acid. It's just those two mixed together. And so as opposed to calling it citrulline malate, they separate them and they let you know, hey, we got 10 full grams of regular citrulline, 3 grams of malic acid. That's the same across these two. Another one, this is betaine anhydrous. So you have 2,500 milligrams in regular Gorilla Mode base, and you have this same dose in regular Gorilla Mode. So thus far, Gorilla Mode base is actually coming out ahead. However, this is where we start to see some changes. So standard Gorilla Mode has Glycer Pump. Gorilla Mode base does not. So Glycer Pump is a more concentrated version of glycerol. If you guys know me, I love my glycerol. And so that's definitely something I'm sad to see it go, but at the same time, Glycer Pump makes these get like really gross if they're sitting there for a while. Now, it's not too bad with these, but I've noticed it with other pre-workouts that they get like, if you let them sit for a while, or if you have them in your car, which I don't do that, but I know other people who do, and they basically just become a clumpy disaster. So I would much rather just take my glycerol separately, especially I can get a way higher dose if I am adding glycerin on top of my pre-workout. So for me, that's not a big deal, but there is no glycerin in this, so that's something to keep in mind. The next one is there's no creatine. And this is something that I knew was going to happen. A lot of people don't want creatine in their pre-workout. That's something that I think it makes sense to want to have it and say, hey, I'm getting my 5 grams for my pre-workout. I don't have to buy it separately. But at the end of the day, I think people should be able to have the option to add creatine, in their pre-workout or not. Maybe you don't want the water retention. Maybe you get stomach issues from creatine. And it would be a shame if you really loved Gorilla Mode, but you couldn't take it because of the creatine. So I just think they took it out, and it's also a pretty expensive product. So adding that in, that's definitely where they're cutting costs. Now, something that's different between these two that is a shared ingredient is L-tyrosine. So in regular Gorilla Mode, you have 1,500 milligrams in 2 scoops. In Gorilla Mode Base, you have 3,000. So that is another surprising thing. I love tyrosine. I take Respawn every day. I think Respawn has like 5 grams of tyrosine. So I usually take 1.5 scoops of that. So the fact that this is giving me with 2 scoops, 3 grams of tyrosine is awesome. And I really don't think 1,500 is a huge dose, and I really like to see the 3,000. So you're still getting something out of 1,500. That's absolutely, for a lot of people, going to be a good dose. For me personally, as somebody who definitely notices when I'm having 3, 4, 5 grams of tyrosine, having 3 is massive. And I think doubling that dose is a big difference, and I'm really happy that they actually went that route. Now, the next thing that this has that Gorilla Mode Base doesn't have is agmatine sulfate. So if you're seeing a trend here, we're getting rid of the creatine, we're getting rid of the glycer pump, we're getting rid of the agmatine, which is another pump product. So this is a little bit less pump focus, although they do still have that extra gram of L-citrulline and the full 10 grams of that. They still have the malic acid, they still have the betaine, so you're still getting a lot of pump. You're just not getting some of those, products that I would consider to be kind of less effective. So my experience with agmatine sulfate, I didn't really notice that much of a difference when I took it independently. So I used to take it before I even knew what Gorilla Mind was. I took agmatine sulfate by itself, and it tastes disgusting, and I didn't notice that much of a difference. Now, other people, I've heard that it gave them awesome pumps, but that is a product that tends to upset your stomach as well. So not only does it taste disgusting by itself, which this product does a good job of masking that, but it can upset some people's stomachs. So getting rid of that glycer pump, getting rid of the creatine and the agmatine, those are all products that tend to, not sit in people's stomach very well. And so this is a much more palatable pre-workout, and the taste is better for that reason as well. Now, another product in here, or another ingredient that is not in here, is Kanna. And so I love Kanna. I don't think the dose that they put in here at 500 milligrams is enough to really notice. So for me, when I'm taking Kanna, I tend to want to have about 1 gram of Kanna, if not even more. But 1 gram is a great dose. I don't think 500 is really all that effective. And so them taking the Kanna out is a welcome, that's great for me. If I want Kanna, I'm going to take that separately. Kanna also has kind of this earthy taste to it, and so it makes the pre-workout taste worse. So removing Kanna would otherwise be bad if this actually had like a really big dose of Kanna, but at 500 milligrams, you're probably not going to notice it that much, especially if you're somebody who only takes 1 scoop of this. 250 milligrams of Kanna, you're probably not going to notice. Now that depends on the person, but in my experience, I don't think that's going to be a super big drawback. So again, love Kanna. I don't think that this is a very big drop, just given the dosages that we have here. Then we have the addition into this, which I think is very interesting. So this is in Gorilla Mode Base, but is not in regular Gorilla Mode, and that is Alpha GPC. So this has 600 milligrams of Alpha GPC. Now that's a pretty good dosage. Now I personally like to take a little bit more, but you absolutely will notice 600 milligrams. If I'm gonna max out a dosage of Alpha GPC, I'll usually be using like twice that, so 1200. So you could even stack like Gorilla Mode Smooth on top of this and take a few pills of that. But I really, really love Alpha GPC. I've been taking it for much longer than this product has existed. So I've always loved Alpha GPC. I think it's a great nootropic. I think it's good for improving your motor unit recruitment. So not only is it good for being focused in the gym and outside of the gym, but it's good for getting PRs and being able to push yourself a little bit more with that motor unit recruitment. So I love Alpha GPC. The only issue is that I know some people, it's really rare, that have a choline or an Alpha GPC sensitivity, and so they can't take that. So to be fair, if that's you, you can still take Gorilla Mode, that's fine. But for those unfortunate few instances where you can't have, you're sensitive to choline, you can't have Alpha GPC, that's a shame. But I think Alpha GPC is an awesome addition, and that's what I really like about this. Otherwise, when you're looking at caffeine, these are pretty comparable. So the caffeine in this is 350 for 2 scoops. This is 400. So this is giving you a nice 200 milligram just from 1 scoop. But that's really not that much of a difference. I don't think that's really going to persuade anybody one way or the other. But I guess if you want a little bit more caffeine, it's there for you. And then huperzine A, there is a lower dosage of huperzine A in this as opposed to this. So that is a nootropic. A lot of people have never taken it in isolation. I personally have never taken it in isolation, so I can't say for sure, like if I even notice the difference between having it. But Derek puts that product or that ingredient in pretty much all of his products. So it's hard to know how much of a difference it would make having 400 versus 100. But yeah, overall, you can see where they, kind of took out some of the ingredients, took out the Kanna, took out, the creatine and the glycer pump and stuff like that to make this an easier to mix product, a better tasting product, something that's not going to upset your stomach. They added in the alpha GPC, which is an expensive ingredient, and that's one of the major things. Like, I would supplement with alpha GPC independently, no matter what I was doing, whether I was working out, whether I was trying to focus before work. So you're adding that in. You're also adding in that extra 1,500 milligrams of L-tyrosine. That is a very noticeable welcome difference, and I think you're going to notice much better focus, especially when you factor in that alpha GPC. So that's a pretty potent stack to have that additional 1,500 milligrams of L-tyrosine on top of that alpha GPC, and then you're getting that additional gram of L-citrulline. So basically what you're trading here is this is slightly more pump focused than you're getting that creatine as well. Now, if you don't want creatine, obviously you wouldn't be taking Gorilla Mode because that has it in there, but you're getting rid of the creatine, a little bit of the pump products, but you're still keeping, the very important L-citrulline, and you're still keeping that betaine anhydrous. So you're still getting a lot of that power. And then again, alpha GPC helps with motor unit recruitment as well. So this is very much like a focus-based PR lift, get in the gym, like more stim-based pre-workout that's still giving you that maxed out, 10 full grams of L-citrulline. So, overall, considering that these are more comparable in price than you might imagine when you factor in the actual serving sizes that you get in these tubs, it really just comes down to, do you want that creatine? Do you want that glycer pump? Those products that may upset your stomach. If you're taking this and you can handle all those ingredients and you're all about the pump, but you still want the stim, so you're not going all the way for nitric, that's what Gorilla Mode is for. If you're willing to sacrifice the creatine and a little bit of those extra pump products because you're already getting a great pump with that 10 grams of citrulline, and you want to add in the alpha GPC, you want to add in an additional 1,500 milligrams of L-tyrosine, and you want to save a little bit of money in the process, that's where this comes in. So I don't think one of these is better than the other. This is not like a much cheaper option either. When it comes to per serving or per scoop, this is cheaper, but it's not by as much because this has less scoops in the tub. And so therefore, I don't think the difference in price per scoop should be the differentiating factor between which one you get. I think the real thing, and another thing is, this is going to taste a little bit better because it's not going to have those things that potentially upset your stomach or the Kanna that makes it taste a little bit worse. It's going to be less gritty. So this is just going to be smoother, taste better, give you better focus, and be slightly cheaper. This is going to be a little bit more pump focused, and you're going to add that creatine as well. So, for me, I think most people, this is probably what they want to go for personally. But it's hard to beat Gorilla Mode. I mean, it's such a diverse, well-rounded, awesome pre-workout. I think that's the reason why it took the world by storm, is because it's kind of for everybody and save somebody who doesn't want, creatine in their pre-workout. Outside of that, like, this really kind of checks all the boxes. So you're never going to go wrong if you can tolerate creatine, or if you want creatine in your pre-workout, you're never going to go wrong with this. But I think the changes that they made in this, I personally would probably recommend this a little bit more. And then you factor in it as a little bit cheaper as well. The unit price on this is $35 versus $50 on the Gorilla Mode. So I think overall, I would probably say I like base a little bit more, especially when you factor in it does taste a little bit better. But they're still pretty comparable. This is not like, Mode is way better or base is way better or way cheaper. They're still, it just depends on what you're going for. So I don't really think that you can go wrong with either one of these as long as you know what you're looking for. And then we have nitric, and you have these other options. We have this crazy high stim pre-workout. So you have options at Gorilla Mind, but I really think base is it's probably not going to be as common as Gorilla Mode, just because, again, I think that covers a lot of bases and it's extremely popular. But base is really overall, I think that should be considered like the default unless you know what you're looking for and you're like, oh, I definitely want creatine. Oh, I really want this bit of Kana and I want the glycer pump and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, not a super definitive, this one is better than the other, but you know, comparing the labels, I think they're both good products. And I don't think Derek puts out bad formulas. And so you're not going to find one that's like, oh, you would never get this. Like they're all really good. And now you have a lot of different options when it comes to pre-workouts. And I think I can't imagine anybody would be dissatisfied if, you know, they tried all these different pre-workout formulations. I think everybody's going to find one that they absolutely love. And I think base just makes it, you know, kind of rounds that out, right? It was just kind of the missing piece in terms of one that kind of, you know, didn't have that creatine, didn't have those ingredients that make it taste a little bit worse. So therefore you're getting even a better flavor than you're already getting. Plus you're getting that extra focus from the tyrosine, you're getting that alpha GPC. I just think it's an awesome product. And again, I'm not really somebody who uses Mode. I personally am a nitric guy. But for those of you who love Mode and think that's the best pre-workout there is, this is not like claiming the throne by any means. I just think it's a better alternative for some people. And I would say overall, I am going to be taking, and I have been taking Gorilla Mode Base more than I take Mode, but I still primarily take nitric. So, you know, to each their own. So hopefully that helps clarify which one you should get. I can't remember if I said this earlier on in the video, but obviously Black Friday is right around the corner. So wait on buying these. You're going to be able to get a discount here shortly later this month. And yeah, get the white gummy bear. That is definitely the flavor to get. I actually haven't even tried the other ones, but considering it's the exclusive flavor and it tastes really good, just get that one. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. I will keep you updated and I'll talk to you soon.